exactly the opposite. So, now we're getting closer to our first meditation. So, showing that anger is unjustified. On analysis of the object, so we analyze the object and see that anger is unjustified. Then we analyze the subject, ourselves, and see that anger is unjustified. And thirdly, we analyze the basis, which will be explained, and see that anger is unjustified. So there are three reasons for why saying anger is not justified. To react with anger in the situation when someone prevents our happiness and instead causes us harm, anger is unjustified. Okay. So when we analyze, so on analysis, or upon analyzing the object, we come to see that anger is unjustified. Now we focus on the object. The object is the other person, the person who harms us. Okay. So there are four reasons why it is not justified to get angry with a person who causes us grief. So our object of anger, in other words, the person who potentially we would get angry with, the one who causes us grief, from the point of view of self-control, anger is not justified. From the point of view of adventitiousness or inherency, I'll explain this, it's a weird way of looking at it, anger is not justified. From the point of view of whether the harm is direct or indirect, harm is not justified. And from the point of view of the cause that impels the person to harm us, the perpetrator, anger is unjustified. So those are, we actually now come to the points to meditate on. So you see, we become more and more specific with regard to the reasonings why not to get angry. Okay? So now, this next section, we'll meditate on. So there's a lot of small meditations I want to do, not too long because we never finish otherwise. But some of those reasonings are so potent and so effective, and with that meditating really, we hear them and go, oh, that's nice, what's next? So in order to make it more effective, I'll first explain it and then we'll spend some time to meditate. Okay, now think of someone who harmed you, someone who prevented your happiness. It doesn't matter, you can also think of someone who abused you, who destroyed your reputation. All that is possible, even though that comes later, but the analysis that comes later is different anyway. The later kind of analysis is slightly different. So think of a situation, bring to mind a situation when someone annoys you in general. I mean, you may have to switch it around a little bit and adjust it a little bit. So you've got a few situations, that's good. Got a few situations you can switch back and forth. It may work better. Okay? You all ready? Okay, good. So, this analysis, here we need to practice in advance, of course. No, don't meditate yet. It's not time yet. I first need to explain it and then we do the meditation. But if you're already in a meditative state, very good. It affects you differently. We have to do this in advance, very important. So, you can try to do it when you get angry, but it's difficult. If you do it in advance, you're kind of prepared. It's like an armor. So when the person does if a similar situation arises, you're well prepared. So without training, it will be hard because anger is so powerful. Without initial training, without preparation, it'd be hard to be prepared well. So let's just check the situation when they abused you, whatever they've done to you. Does this person act of their own free will?
No.
Wait. No, I don't need to answer that. Just ask yourself, does that person act upon their own free will? Are they actually under total control? Are they totally in control? Right? Or are they powerless? Okay. So usually people get angry as the result of three conditions. So if they harm us, of course, also out of resentment and anger. Usually that's what it is. In that situation, if someone harms us, motivated by anger, there are three conditions that make them do that. It's actually not karma. It's our karma to be, but in their situations, there are tendencies. They have set tendencies in their continuum to get angry. So they have these tendencies for afflictions, in particular, for engaging in harmful actions. There's something that makes them angry. There's a situation that makes them angry. And there's a wrong perception of the object of their anger. So if we are the object of their anger, Well, they wrongly perceive the situation. You've heard about anger. Anger doesn't see reality as it actually is. It doesn't. It projects. So therefore, there's first of all the tendency to get angry. There's something to make that person angry. In this case, whatever we did, whatever we've done. And thirdly, there's a wrong perception of the object. In our case, us. So these are the main conditions. Which means a person who harms us, harming us, driven by their own anger, they're under the control of various conditions, and we've only mentioned 3 here. But it's very likely that those 3 take over, and there's a chain of causation. So there's a chain of events that takes them there. So one thing leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next. So there's really not much power they have once this tendency is ripened and the anger arises strongly. It's like a mental illness. You know, when they become strongly angry, there are these conditions that lead to that anger, and once those chain of conditions have come forth, there's very little they can do in that moment. It's like a person being mentally sick.
It's like a snowball.
Like a snowball, that's a good word. Yeah, probably very good. So like a snowball reaction. One thing leads to the next, And if we think about this, doctors, for example, do not get angry. Right? If you have a doctor who treats a person who's under the control of these kind of like a snowball kind of event of afflictions arising, and then they do the craziest thing, doctors are able to distinguish between the illness and the person. Right? So this is important. It's important because when we are harmed by someone, when someone does something to us out of anger, we see their hatred and their harm directed towards us and the person as one. But when there's a illness, and we know this person well, we never put the 2 together. We never get a sense that they're one. Okay? So this is something we need to identify. This idea that the person and the harm, whatever they do to us, they're one. They're actually separate. So a doctor would be able to separate the person from the illness. You want to remove the illness. So, but it's just, so this is just how it appears to us. It's just like an illusion. In reality, it's our misperception. Of course, they have their own misperception from their side, but we have also our misperception, the fact that we see them as one. So in that way, Shantideva says, those who harm us, they are all under another's control. They're under the control of their own harmful intents. They have no autonomous power. Understanding this, you have no anger, for all things are like illusions. Okay? So if you really understand this other person is just under the power of some other force, they're not one with that force, but it seems to us, it's like an illusion, like an optical illusion. It seems to us to be that way. So what are they mainly under the control of? Well, first of all, their ignorance, their misperception of whatever that misperception is. There are different levels. That creates anger, and that creates hatred, and compels all sorts of wrong actions. And then those actions that they direct towards us will actually harm him or her much more than they harm us. Okay? All right. So, those who are disturbed, it says in Shantideva says, those who are disturbed by powerful sickness, it's like a sickness, it's like a mental disease, the strong anger, harmful intents that they direct towards us, do not have the strength to do anything. Like what? Oh, so like this is just an analogy. So those who are disturbed by powerful sickness, so like a mentally sick person, do not have the strength to do anything. Likewise, those disturbed by ignorance do not have the strength to do anything. The stronger the ignorance, the stronger the misperception, the less power there is. And then Ayadeva says in his 400 stanzas, because someone is seized by demons, like demons here means disease, like mental disease, his doctor is not annoyed at him. Similarly, the Buddha sees that the demon is the mental afflictions, not the person who has mental afflictions. So to separate the person from whatever negative they do. Chandrakirti says, wise people understand this is not the person's fault. The problem is the mental affliction, so they do not fight with others. Okay? So they give the fault not to the person, but to the mental afflictions. Mentally, I'm not saying not punishing them, you know the whole thing. So, therefore, to consider this. It is therefore, so now it's the time to meditate, having given you all these different reasons. So to summarize, the idea that another person is not really in control when they harm us. This is, they don't know the situation in actuality. They are deluded by their own misperception and afflictions. And therefore, this is the first part to understand here, that they're not really in control. That the person who harms us is not really in control. Okay, so let's start the first part of the meditation. Take a few moments to empty the mind. As you breathe out all thoughts that are not related to this meditation. You can deal with those thoughts at another time, so just go of them. Now, take to mind a situation when someone harmed you, wanted to harm you, directly or indirectly. And doing so out of anger and hatred towards you. You may take to mind a situation that actually happened or a situation that could happen. Visualize the situation. And now think that this perpetrator, the person who tries to harm you or harms you, has no control. They're under the control of their misperception of reality. Which is not just one misperception, there are many misperceptions that arise in his or her continuum. Which then gives rise to their misguided anger, hatred, due to their tendencies to get angry in their continuum. There's something that triggers the anger. And without much control, they act upon that anger. Therefore that person is like a mad person. Basically harming himself much more than harming you. So ask yourself, getting angry with him or her, is that really justified? This is one point to consider. And then the next point to consider, well, so not only is it justified or it's not justified to get angry because there's no control for the person harming us, but we should also analyze the adventitiousness or inherency. Okay? What does that mean? A person intending to harm us, again, in a similar situation, is that intent to harm us, is it in their nature or temporary? Is it temporary or is it in their nature to harm us? That's the question. So is it an inherent nature to harm us, or is it temporal accidental occurrence, like an occurrence that is only there for the time being? If it is inherent, what's the point in getting angry? If it is inherent in that person to harm us, that's like getting angry with fire for being hot. Right? It's the nature of fire to be hot. It's in the nature of water to be wet. Right? So we don't get angry with water because it's wet, because it's in the nature of anger. It's in the nature of water. We do not get angry with fire because it's hot, because it's in the nature of fire. So why, if it's in the nature of the person to be harmful, it's in their nature. What can they do? It's in their nature. So why do we get angry with them? Right? That's one thing to consider. Now, the only other option is that it's temporary. If it's not in their nature, it can only be temporary. So they cause us harm, not because it's in their nature, but due to temporary external causes and conditions. So then why get angry? Again, why get angry? Because it's just temporary causes and conditions. And we cannot really get angry with the person. That's like getting angry with the sky when there are clouds. Right? Because the clouds and the sky are not the same. Or when there's dust in the air. You know, when there's like a dusty sky, the sky and the dust are different. Temporarily, due to causes and conditions, the sky is dusty. But it doesn't make sense to get angry with the sky, because it's different, it's temporary, it's a temporary state which is different. You see what I mean? So therefore the logic here is, and this is something in this case, we need to also consider when we get angry, we do not get angry with the anger of the person. We do not even get angry with the harmful intent of that person. Only indirectly, because we see the person and the harmful intent as one. So since we get angry with the person, we kind of indirectly also get angry with the harmful intent. The funny thing is, our mind kind of sees them as the same and kind of different, and it's kind of like hazy. But the point is, we're really angry with the person. It's not really, oh, I hate their harmful intent. We don't get angry with that. No, if their fist hits me, I don't get angry with their fist. I don't get angry with their arm. I don't get angry with their brain. I don't get angry with their harmful intent. I get angry with the person. Right? That's what we do. And we get angry with the person because we can't separate the harm and them. But in a way, it's really just the person. The focus is the person. Yeah. But if their anger, their harmful intent, their harm is not inherent in them, is temporary, it's like getting angry with the sky for a dark cloud. Who gets angry with the sky when there are dark clouds? Right? So again, there's no reason. It's not justified to get angry from the point of view of either their harmful intent being adventitious or temporary, or inherent. Right? So this is just a short point. I'll integrate it in the next meditation. We'll go through this for the next session. But if harming others, Shantideva says, if harming in the Bodhisattva way of life, if harming others is the nature of ordinary beings, it is not right to be angry at them, because it's like being angry with fire's nature to burn. If the nature of sentient beings is pure and their faults are adventitious, well then it's not right to be angry, because that's like being angry at the smoke in the sky. Right? There's smoke in the sky, or dark clouds in the sky. Okay? Being angry with the pure blue space because of a dark cloud. So, that's one analysis. The second analysis. The first analysis was anger is not justified because there's no self-control for the person intending to harm us. Then anger is not justified from the point of view of adventitiousness or inherency. Inherency, it does not mean intrinsic inherent existence, it just means in terms of the nature of the person. The next one is, upon analyzing whether the harm inflicted on us is direct or indirect, we come to see that anger is unjustified. What does that mean? Does someone inflict the harm we experience directly or indirectly? This is actually already included in the last one, in the sense that, is it really them who harm us, or is it their anger that harms us? What is directly harming us? So what should we directly get angry with? Because actually they don't harm us, their anger harms us. They're under the control of the anger. So this idea with the stick, here's the idea of the stick really. If someone beats us with a stick, we don't get angry with the stick, because the stick is under the control of the person holding the stick, we say. But likewise, we should not get angry with the person holding the stick, because again, they are under the control of their own anger. So we should get angry with the anger they experience, and not get angry with the person. Does that make sense? So initially, the first point was more like anger is not inherent in them, it's adventitious. From that point of view, why do we get angry? And then secondly, we should get angry with the anger, not with them. So Shantideva says, things like sticks and so forth are direct causes. If you get angry at the one who uses them, then it's right to be angry with hatred. Then it's right to be angry. Oh, sorry, again. Things like sticks and so forth are direct causes if you get angry at the one who uses them. Then it is right to be angry with hatred, since hatred is the instigator. Okay. Now, the next point, we can also go through that. On analysis of the cause that impels the perpetrator, anger is unjustified. So what is the cause of them giving us harm? We've already heard that those three conditions, of course. But the point is, there are other causes. Nothing occurs without a cause. Nothing. Every experience, even the smallest pleasure or the smallest pain, is the result of a cause. And there are two general types of causes. Kind of temporary or secondary causes, let's say secondary causes, and fundamental causes. Karma is the fundamental cause. This is what Kvir was saying. Karma is the fundamental cause for our lives and for our experiences. So some of the karma, some of the experiences we have may be the result of karma we created in this lifetime. Some experiences we have in this lifetime are the results of karma we created in the previous life, or any life before that, thousands of lives ago. It's possible to have created the causes many, many thousands of lifetimes before. So then when someone harms us, their harm, the conditions that give rise, we heard before, the condition of the tendency, the condition of something causing them the harm. What's the third one? What's the third condition? Forget it. The three conditions. Remember I talked about something to make wrong perception, misperception, yeah. So the misperception and so forth, all those are actually secondary causes. Their harm is the secondary cause for us to be for us to be harmed. What is the main cause? Our karma. Our karma is more of a main cause. So we see if there's karma, that's secondary. The main cause is that person, right? So again, when we think of those 3 points, which we're going to do together here, one point is from the point of view adventitiousness and inherency. We never consider that, neither of the two. We see this person as kind of one with the harm and don't really differentiate. But if we think about it well, it doesn't make sense to get angry. Secondly, really we should get angry with their anger, because that's what directly harms us, forgetting about karma in that moment. So you should get angry with the anger. And again, we don't get angry with the right thing. And lastly, we should really get upset about what we've done in the past, right? We are the ones who accumulated the causes for that, no matter when, I mean thousands of years ago. So not to get angry with ourselves, but to stop blaming another person and rather generate the determination, I'm not going to create those causes again. Because that's what would happen if I now harm that person, then I create the same cause for me again to have the same experience. Right? Okay, anyway, let's reflect on those 3 points and just guide you through them during meditation. Again, focus on the breathing initially, just watch your breathing. Then again, bring to mind the situation when someone harmed you, when someone annoyed you, when someone made you angry. Or imagine a situation where this could potentially take place. And now ask yourself, the person's intent to harm you, is that his or her inherent nature? Or is it something temporal, adventitious? And if it is in their nature, does it really make sense to get angry? Wouldn't that be like getting angry with fire for being hot?